All right, today we are cracking open the fraction toolkit. We're going to master two skills that are honestly absolutely essential: multiplication and the power of something called the reciprocal.
Yep, just two key skills, but trust me, they're going to make a huge difference in how you handle fractions. We're not wasting any time here, so let's just dive right in.
Okay, first up in our toolkit, we're calling it the multiplier. Think of it as the engine behind all fraction multiplication. And the best part? It's built on one super simple rule that just always works.
So, how does this thing actually work? Well, it's basically a three-step mission, super straightforward. First, you just multiply the top numbers together, the numerators. Then you do the exact same thing for the bottom numbers, the denominators. And the last step, and this one's really important, you always have to simplify your answer down to its lowest terms.
Okay, theory's great, but let's put this rule to the test right now. Take a look at this problem here. How would you go about solving 2/3 times 1/4?
All right, let's break it down together. We multiply the numerators, right? So 2 times 1, that's 2. Easy. Then the denominators, 3 times 4, which gives us 12. So now we're looking at 2/12. But wait, don't forget step 3. We've got to simplify. We can divide both the top and bottom by 2, and that lands us on our final clean answer, 1/6.
Okay, not bad for a warm-up, right? But what happens when the fractions start to look a little trickier? Let's try tackling a problem that has an improper fraction in it. One of those where the top number is bigger than the bottom. Something like 3/5 times 10/9.
So if we just follow the rules like before, we'd multiply 3 by 10 to get 30, and then 5 by 9 to get 45. That leaves us with 30 over 45. Now comes the simplifying part. And if you happen to spot that 15 goes into both of them, you can divide and get your answer, 2/3. And look, this works perfectly fine. But did you notice how we had to deal with those bigger numbers, 30 and 45?
And that little inconvenience leads us right to a pro tip. This is a real lifesaver, especially if you're ever in a test situation. Here's the secret weapon. Always, always look for a chance to simplify before you multiply. It's a little trick called cross-cancellation, and trust me, it makes the math so much cleaner.
Okay, so let's rewind and apply this trick to that same problem. Look at the numbers diagonally from each other. See the 3 and the 9? We can divide both of those by 3. So the 3 becomes a 1, and the 9 becomes a 3. Now look at the other diagonal, the 10 and the 5. We can divide both of those by 5. So the 10 becomes a 2, and the 5 becomes a 1. All of a sudden, our problem is just a simple 1 times 2 on top and 1 times 3 on the bottom. We get the exact same answer, 2/3, but wow, that calculation was way, way easier.
All right, you're doing great. Next up, mixed fractions. You know the ones. They've got that whole number hanging out in front. Now listen up, because there is one rule here that is absolutely non-negotiable. You have to convert any mixed fraction into an improper fraction before you do a single other thing. Once you do that, guess what? It's the exact same process we've already mastered.
So let's try one out. How would you solve 1.5 times 2/5?
Okay, first things first. We've got to convert that mixed number. 1.5, that becomes 3/2. So our new problem is 3/2 times 2/5. We can multiply across the top and bottom to get 6/10, and that simplifies down to 3/5. But hey, look closely. We could have used our cross-cancellation trick again. The 2's on the diagonal would cancel each other out, leaving us instantly with 3/5. See how powerful that is? Fantastic. You've pretty much mastered the multiplier. So now it's time for the second tool in our kit. I call this one the inverter. And this is all about a really cool and surprisingly powerful idea called the reciprocal. So to get our heads around this, let me start with a question. What's the deal with two numbers that when you multiply them together, the answer is exactly, perfectly 1? What's so special about that? Well, that special relationship has a name. We say those two numbers are reciprocals of each other. You might hear a fancier term for it, like multiplicative inverse, but don't let that throw you. It just means the exact same thing. Two numbers that multiply to make 1. So how do you actually find the reciprocal of a fraction? You're going to love this. The process is, well, it's just so simple. You just flip it. Seriously, the top number goes to the bottom and the bottom number goes to the top. That's literally all there is to it. So for example, the reciprocal of 3/4 is, you guessed it, 4/3.
And it makes perfect sense, right? If you multiply them together, you get 12 over 12, which is just 1. See? It works.
Okay, you've got the basic idea down. Now let's make sure we've really got this inverter tool mastered by trying it out on a few different kinds of numbers.
So what about a whole number, like, say, the number 8? Well, the trick is to first think of it as a fraction. And remember, any whole number can just be written as itself over 1. So 8 is really just 8 over 1. And once you see it that way, you know what to do. You just flip it.
And just like that, you have your answer. The reciprocal of 8 is 1/8. It really is that simple.
Okay, how about those mixed numbers again? You're probably seeing a pattern here. Just like with multiplication, that first step is key. Your brain should immediately go, convert. Always turn that mixed number into an improper fraction first. Only after you've done that can you flip it to find the reciprocal. So let's take 2 1/3. First step, we convert it. That becomes 7/3. Now it's in the right format, so we can just flip it. And there you go. The reciprocal of 2 1/3 is 3/7.
Okay, last thing on this. Let's cover two really important special cases. You just got to remember. First, the number 1. What's its reciprocal? Well, it's just 1. Kind of funny, right? It's because 1 is 1 over 1. And when you flip that, it's still 1 over 1. Now the other one is 0. And this is a big one. 0 has no reciprocal. Why? Well, if you write it as 0 over 1 and try to flip it, you get 1 over 0. And as you might know, that's a huge no-no in math. You just can't divide by 0.
And there you have it. Two incredibly powerful tools for your fraction toolkit. The multiplier and the inverter. You've totally got this. So I'm going to leave you with one final thought to chew on. Now that you've mastered how to multiply, and you know this powerful trick of flipping a fraction, what brand new mathematical door do you think you've just unlocked? What kind of problem can you solve now? Give it some thought.